Welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Words and Wisdom Radio Show, and I'm your host, Dr. Candace Chambers. If you are just tuning in to our broadcast, today we are talking with Mr. Ernest Johnson IV. Ernest is an incoming freshman at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and is the epitome of the definition of a scholar. He is talking with us today about his journey within the college admissions process, and I'm so excited about this conversation. So how are you today, Ernest?
I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you for asking.
Awesome. So in your own words, introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, hello, listeners. I'm Ernest Johnson. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I will be attending the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Go Tar Heels on a full academic ride to study biology.
Awesome. 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 All right. So we're going to backtrack and we're going to talk about you as a high school student. So describe to us how you were as a high school student, what activities you participated in, what leadership roles that you have. So just give us a profile of who you were.
Well, one word, workaholic. But when I was in high school, I think I was a very driven high school student. Some of my main activities were student council. For some reason, my class decided to elect me to be class president for all 4 years. I'm actively engaged in Boy Scouts. I am an Eagle Scout. I was a varsity tennis player. I played 2 instruments. I played the piano for the purpose and the cello for 8 years. And with my cello, while in high school, we didn't have an orchestra, but I found other ways to play. Like I played via Zoom in the Berklee's College of Music in one of their orchestra programs up in Boston. And I played in one of my cello trios called Celli Belly, which in retrospect sounds more like a frozen yogurt flavor than an actual cello trio. And I was my school's National Honor Society chapter president and served on my school board's Global Diversity and Inclusion Committee.
Okay, that's a mouthful. So how did you balance everything?
It wasn't easy, to be honest, but in all honesty, it was Google Calendar. Like schedule everything and have no fear to say no to some people or some activities. You have to set boundaries with people and organizations so you can have time for yourself and mental relaxation.
I really love that. And that's a really wise advice, especially as a teenager. And you already
Yeah.
recognize the idea of a boundary. It's awesome. So tell us, like, when did you decide you wanted to attend college? Like, how early, like, how young were you, or did you have any influences? So when did that cross your radar?
Well, it felt like a natural progression for me because I was fortunate enough to be born into a family where both of my parents and both sets of grandparents are highly educated, college educated people. So their actions, their occupations, their lifestyles were all indirectly telling me to go to college. So, in all honesty, I felt like I had no other recourse, and I'm happy with it so far.
Okay. Yeah, I think that does matter. When you do have people in your family who have taken that path, you're like, it's just a natural next step. Like, what else am I supposed to be doing right now? Of course, I'm going to college. But that's awesome. So, you know you're going to go to college. So, how did you choose your schools? Like, how did you make your college list?
Well, that's a good question right there. But a very important factor would be distance because I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I wanted to be far enough from Charlotte that I can be independent, explore new things, have a new sense of autonomy with my decisions, that everything I do is a product of what I do, not with what my brother or my family does. But I want to temper that by saying that I want to be close enough to say if there was a problem, like another pandemic, I wouldn't be so far from friends and or family.
Mm-hmm.
And another criteria was biology. It is my intended major, and I wanted to go to a college that had a stellar biology program, and if applicable, a great dental school. And to focus more on education, nearly every college that I applied to didn't have an overly rigid curriculum. So it gave me the opportunity to explore across many interdisciplinary fields or fully delve into one particular topic of interest.
Mm-hmm. Okay, nice. So tell us a few of the schools that you did apply to.
Well, I won't tell you all of them, but I'll tell you some of the greatest hits. So
Okay.
I applied into 15, I got into 13. Ironically, the 2 that I didn't get into were the ones my parents forced me to, so a win for me anyhow. But I got into Chapel Hill, obviously, with my full ride and their honors program and their accelerated research program. I got into some Ivies like Dartmouth, Brown, and Columbia, where at Columbia I was a Klug Scholar. I was also an Eckel Scholar at University of Virginia. And finally, I got into Vanderbilt.
Nice. Congratulations. Take a moment of like congratulatory hand claps for Ernest, because that is really to be commended. Don't take that lightly, okay? All right. So as far as the college admissions process is concerned, what were your initial thoughts or feelings just about the process or even going into the process?
Well, it felt like a part-time job. Mm-hmm. It was also very esoteric because I'm the oldest child in my family, the eldest child in my family. And my parents haven't done a college application in about 30 years. So it felt a little isolating in terms of my lack of knowledge. But talking to friends who've already gone through this process and having my parents be able to hire resources like you made me more confident while navigating this process. But in all honesty, at the end of the day, using nearly every advantage that I have been blessed to have made it all still a very daunting process.
Okay, what was so daunting about it?
Well, I would say time management, because like I said earlier, it truly is a part-time job. No, I had a very heavy course load at college and community college. I had a never-ending list of extracurriculars, and that was before the college application process. So have all that compounding with applying to 15 highly selective colleges, it just made making sure to have fun, to have work, to have college, trying to all make that coalesce to a healthy work-life balance very difficult.
Okay. I like the way you put that, because, sometimes the students or the parents don't realize that you're still in your senior year. So you still have everything going on that a senior would have going on, but you have this other thing, all these applications and essays and just everything else that's involved in the process that, like you say, you have to find some type of balance or you really would go crazy.
Exactly. And you can't let this college decision, like this whole college process, to ruin your senior year. Because your senior year is the only free year you'll have at high school to fully explore. Like after my AP exams, I did nothing for about 5 weeks, and I was not complaining. So the opportunity to spend time with friends, to do fun activities, to fully rest on your laurels for once in your academic career, though nascent as it may be, just make sure that you carve time to actually be a senior, be a teenager, and have some fun in the meantime.
Yes, I really like that. I think that's really good advice. And I think that's really true. Because like you said, senior year only comes one time. And it's like the culminating moment of your high school career. Well, really all of school. So you have to enjoy that time. So you talked about the daunting part of the process. What was the most exciting part of the admissions process?
I would say traveling.
Okay.
Because I was stuck in my house for 2 years because of the pandemic. And the first chance I got to leave leave the state, I was like, my bags were already packed. Because let me tell you, it was so amazing being able to explore the country for those, 8 or 9 months. Exploring New England in the fall, where I fell in love with the fall foliage in the state of New Hampshire while visiting Dartmouth, or being able to wander the narrow streets of Providence while looking at Brown and interacting with the locals and having the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life. To see where my parents met and got married at UVA, University of Virginia, which was a very rewarding experience and a very amazing opportunity to explore the wonders around us.
Okay, that's really cool. I think that, like you said, to go see the campuses, but also like the cities where they are. And then, of course, like, these important milestone places like where your parents got married. I think that's awesome. College visits are really cool, and
yes, and I'm sorry, speak about the cities. I got back from Chapel Hill for orientation about 2 days ago, and they said something that was very poignant. You are not just a student of UNC, you're also a community member of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But being able to fully experience both the college and the college town, that's why these tours are just absolutely imperative to have when you're looking at colleges. Also, it beats talking to an admissions officer via Zoom. Like, not that much fun.
Okay, that's awesome. So we're gonna switch gears just a tad bit. and we're going to talk about the writing part of the college admissions process. Of course, I have to bring up writing. That's what I do. But I think I want you to just talk about, how did writing play a role in your admissions process?
Well, writing got me into college, I will say that, because I am genuinely convinced that GPA, class rank, letters of rec, and every other conceivable facet of this process take a back seat to writing. Through writing, I was able to craft a narrative of my life and my accomplishments and my ideas and sell it to these colleges, convincing them that I'll make a fine addition to their student body. For every college, there's about at least 5 drafts. So for 15 colleges, that's like what? At least 60 pieces of paper. I killed a small forest in the past 8 months. But doing that and writing it out with a pen and scratching it out and rewriting it again, I would also recommend to your audience getting a whiteboard or two. You write out the prompt for your particular college, and whenever you're in the moment, get your expo marker and just jot down a few ideas, and down the line you have a cohesive outline. And from there, you will fly with your writing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Wow. I like that advice. I'm going to start giving that advice out to students I encounter. I'm going to give you credit, but I think that's really, I never thought about that. I think, I keep notepads and stuff around me for that same idea, but I like the expo, marker and the dry erase board. So that's really, really good advice. Okay. So what were some of your admissions and scholarship outcomes from the process? And you can share whatever you like, but what were some of your outcomes that you haven't already shared?
Well, let's see. What I didn't share, as I said earlier, Chapel Hill, a couple of Ivies, a couple of very selective schools. But I'll do a very small pivot right there. When you're looking for colleges, you want to divide them into 3 separate categories. You have your reach schools, schools that you can barely or maybe are a little out of your league, to schools that you are safe, like you are an assured acceptance into, and schools where you are just a perfect match for.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to find a nice even balance of that. And I was fortunate to get into all my safeties and matches and get it to a majority of my reach schools. But it was a very successful experience.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So speaking on that note, we talked about the brainstorming outline, we talked about the reach, target, and safety. What other advice do you have for students who are going, to be embarking upon this journey? Like in 2 weeks, August 1st is going to be here. So what advice do you have?
Well, first, good luck. But here is something that I wish I knew a year ago, because we all know the Common App, we all love it, we all hate it. But as it officially opens on August 1st, what I wish I knew was that the prompts were actually released in late January. So I could have spent at least the entire summer working on that, and once August 1st came along, just immediately pivot to all the college supplementals, especially those that are due in early October, because Chapel Hill's was due like October 15th. So that's a quick turnaround, especially when you're trying to acclimate to your senior year. So, and probably most importantly, you can never underestimate the power of small steps. Even though we've all been conditioned to chain ourselves to our desk and hammer out entire essays, especially those like myself who've been through AP classes for the past 3 or 4 years, a good essay, and thus application, is truly the culmination of small, repeated actions. Sitting down for like 5 to 10 minutes to write a stellar couple of sentences is far more rewarding than sitting down for 2 to 3 hours and producing a crappy essay. So it all boils down to time management. Start early enough so you don't force yourself into a rushed mindset. You'll thank yourself, especially when a lot of your applications are due on the same day. Because out of 15 colleges, like 5 of them are due on the same day. And that is just not an easy position to manage.
Okay. Look, I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, do you have more? I'm like, is he done? But no, I'm like, I'm soaking it in as if I'm a student.
Actually, I have one more piece.
Okay, go ahead.
Finally, get yourself another set of eyes, like you or my parents or some teachers, because how can I phrase it? You do not want too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to editing, because the advice you will get will eventually compete against each other and will overwhelm you. but you cannot do this process alone. I thought I could do it, and it nearly killed me. But lean on friends, lean on family, lean on teachers, lean on anybody with good eyesight and good editing skills, and you can go the distance.
I think that's really good advice. Like you said, it's good to have confidence, but it's also smart to know how to use your resources wisely. And so
Yes.
I think that was really good advice for our students, but also our parents, just to give them confidence to know, like, they don't have to have it all together. The student doesn't have to have it all together, but they can use their community, to help out. But
trust me, my parents had like 5 degrees between the two of them. They had no idea what I was doing.
Which is not uncommon. Like you said, they did an application like 30 years ago. So many things have changed. All right. Last thing, any lasting thoughts that just you would like to share, that these are just words and wisdom from you?
Well, my word of wisdom would be, I'll not view this admissions process as a means to an end, because you are missing the full story if you just see this as high school, college like that. This process has changed me in a myriad of ways by exposing me to so much. From August 2021 to April 2022, I've learned a lot about life, explored the country, and immersed myself in some of the most engaging and amazing groups of people ever. And I can definitively say that I'm not the same man I was before or after this process. We're so focused on crafting the future and its possibilities, and we become so blind to the blessings and the experiences of the present. So never lose sight of what's going around you.
That's a good way to end the conversation, Ernest. You that was awesome. I'm like, yes, preach, Ernest. It's awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Ernest, for joining us today.
Thank you.